Today's video is brought to you by ablmerch.com. Grab your 1776 hats, t-shirts, stickers, mugs, and more through the link in the description box below. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the FDA and the CDC recommending that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine be paused nationwide. Now, this is a follow-up to a video I did the other day where I said 4 states pause the vaccine because of adverse reactions. There was one county in Georgia, I think it was Forsyth County, that had like 11 people have really crazy adverse reactions. You're talking about high fever, chills, people passing out. I mean, just a bunch of different things going on. Okay, people having swollen limbs and whatnot. It was crazy. Okay, now the official reason that you'll see all over the internets, all on social media, all on television is that there was only, I think, 6 cases of extreme blood clots out of the 6.8 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that have already been administered. So they're going to say, well, basically your chances of having this happen to you is like 1 in a million. Okay. But that's not telling the full story. Like I said, there was, I think, like 11 cases in one county in Georgia of adverse reactions, not just blood clots. You see, the news are reporting on the blood clot cases that have been reported that they know of. But they're not talking about extreme fever, people passing out, people swelling up, and just general discomfort, arms hurting. They're not talking about everything that's going on. That's just a negative side effect. They're talking about the blood clots only. So that's kind of misleading. Now, like I said, there's been about 6.8 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that have been administered thus far, which is pretty low on the scale, quite frankly, because I think Moderna and Pfizer, they both have like 30, 35 million each. So they're pretty high up on the totem pole, but the next one is a Johnson & Johnson, the one shot. Now, from the beginning, there's been problems. Well, not really from the beginning, but there's been other problems that go back further than just right now today, which is Tuesday, April the 13th, 2021. Back at the end of March, there was millions of doses of the vaccine that had been destroyed because they were improperly mixed. Let me go back a little bit to explain the whole situation. Now, I think it was at a facility, Baltimore somewhere. I'm not really sure where it was. If you know where it was, if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. But workers at one of these facilities had improperly mixed ingredients to the vaccine. So a bunch of them in the production stage, it hadn't gotten to the point where they were out there in the wild. But a bunch of these vaccines had to be destroyed, millions of them, because of improper ingredient mixing. And beyond that, they said they had a very low efficacy rate. Well, not very low, but lower than the Moderna and the Pfizer. Like 80-something% compared to the 90, 95, or 100, close to 100% of the other ones. Okay. Now, I'm not sure how you really are able to see what the efficacy rate is because these vaccines have only been out there for a short period of time. I think the first ones were released in December of 2020. So we're dealing with, 2-3 months, not a very long time to really see what the efficacy of the vaccines are, how well they work, and what the long-term effects are going to be. We see what the immediate effects may be as far as the blood clots being the most severe, because if you get a blood clot, you might mess around and die from that. There have been celebrities who have gotten the vaccine. I'm not really sure which one, and then they've died shortly thereafter. I can't say they died because of the vaccine, but what I can say is that they got the vaccine and a week later, 2 weeks later, they die. Oh, it was a heart attack. We don't know what happened. She was 47 years old in perfect health. She got the vaccine, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, she passed away. Now, going back to the blood clots right quick from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, all the people that were affected were women between the ages, I think, of 18 and 48, and they all had similar symptoms, like a week or 2 out from getting the vaccine. So my question would be, okay, if you have symptoms a week or 2 out from getting the vaccine, that may be different from what you get right when you get it, because some people have symptoms right when they get the vaccine. Oh, my arm's hurting, I'm sweating, I have a high fever, I'm passing out. And then there's other symptoms a week or two later. So what's going to be the symptoms? What's going to be the complications that could come about a month later, a year later, 10 years later? Like I've said before, maybe in a live video, on the previous pre-recorded video, Johnson & Johnson has a history of latent effects with their products, okay? There was a lawsuit that I think got settled last year, 2020. So very recently, I think the last action I saw from the case was December of 2020. So not even a full 12 months ago. You're talking about, what, about 4 months ago? But anyway, Johnson & Johnson has this product, or at least had it, called baby powder. And it's like an antiperspirant you put on your body, not just under your armpits. You put it on your body. Now, women in the South, particularly overweight women and black women in the South, were using this traditionally as an antiperspirant in certain areas of the body where it would get hot. You know, you in the South, it's 80, 90, 100 degrees, it's humid. You use that to cool yourself off, make everything straight. Now, the problem is that the baby powder had talcum, and in the talcum was asbestos. And if you know about asbestos, the problem with asbestos is that it has a bunch of sharp fibers in it that create all kinds of problems. Okay, if you're breathing in asbestos on a shipyard, and you know that gets in your lungs, that could create mesothelioma, things of that nature, because the sharp particles in the asbestos poke holes in your lungs. COPD, same thing. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But when it comes to ovarian cancer, women were putting the product like in between their legs for antiperspirant, and then that will travel up in their body and potentially cause ovarian cancer. When Johnson & Johnson knew back in 2006 that the powder could be potentially carcinogenic, meaning it could cause cancer, they did not stop marketing to the very group that was affected the most, because that was their chief customer. So basically, they kept pushing this product to people knowing about the cancer risk that it caused. Now they're in this big, crazy lawsuit that settled for millions, billions of dollars, or whatever the case may be. Okay? So that very same company that can't even get baby powder right, that marketed to people that were affected the most by the potential cancer risks of the baby powder, you want to trust them for a vaccine that they rushed out there to the proverbial shelves in the stores? I mean, it really couldn't be me. But hey, it's not even about me giving my opinion or my 2 cents on the matter. Like I said, 4 states had already paused it. And when they said the 4 states had paused it, I'm like, okay, well, let's say you live in, I don't know, California, for example, and Nevada pauses it. Well, why can't California pause it? Why would you want to take it in California if they don't take it in Nevada? You know, I mean, at a certain point, a human being in Nevada is not different than a human being in California. When you're talking about species, right? They're human, I'm human. I might have a brain in Nevada versus a liberal in California, but that's irrelevant. At the end of the day, when you take all the political stuff away, when you take all the talk and the language barriers, cultural barriers, when you take all of that away, we're still human beings, yes? So a human being in Nevada is not different than a human being in California, same species. So why would I take this vaccine when they don't right across the border? So I figured they would be doing something like this on a nationwide scale, and that is what's happening right now. Now, are they going to resume it? I have no idea. They didn't ban it outright, so I can't say that. They've just, quote unquote, paused it. They may resume it, but my question to you is this. Would you take that even if they do resume it? I mean, I don't know, because they got a bad track record. The talcum powder, employees mixing ingredients improperly, having to destroy a bunch of the vaccines before they even get out there to the market. When the vaccines do come out to the market, you got blood clots, you got people falling out and chills and everything else. And they're trying to downplay it, talking about the blood clots only, not the other things that have been happening. They want to say, oh, it's only 6 out of 6.8 million. Well, it must be enough for them to pause it, huh? It must not be that insignificant. It must not be that, quote unquote, statistically irrelevant because they paused it. But as I close, I want to say this. People like myself and many others that just look at things and say, hey, that doesn't appear to be right. That appears to be a little bit strange. We get called anti-vaxxers, and thehill.com said we are cowardly and ignorant in the black community for being hesitant about taking the vaccine. But from what I've been able to see, the Johnson & Johnson one is not very safe. So maybe we're right about that. I've also seen a news story about them developing a microchip that can detect the vaccine in your body. And I mean, how are you going to get that in someone's body? How is microchip going to actually work? Are they going to wave a wand on you with the chip, or are they going to put a chip inside your body? I don't want to get microchipped. I don't want to get a dangerous vaccine. So how about I just take my chances with my immune system and have that be that? Okay, I don't want to deal with no blood clots and passing out and marketed beasts. I'm good on that. I'll take my life into my own hands. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine being paused on a nationwide level from the FDA and the CDC? I mean, it's a little bit too late. Should they already have done that? Because you had 4 states that did it. Now they want to come back and say, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and just pause it. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about vaccines in general? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. I'm not sitting here telling you don't get the vaccine, and if you do, somehow something's wrong with you. Whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative. However, I will say, keep your eyes on what's happening in the news. If you see that they paused the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different states, and you see the adverse effects from reputable news sources, local, national, independent, and everything else, if you see what's going on there, take that into consideration when you're going out there trying to get the vaccine if you want it. Just maybe that might make sense. All right, I don't want to be like the federal government or the mainstream media trying to obfuscate things, trying to downplay things. I'm going to give you the information you need to go out there and make a reasonable, rational, and well-measured decision. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.